Welcome to Class 3 of Bioethics at Wilmington College. Today we are going to take a look at our first system of normative bioethics, deontology. Deontology is a system of bioethics that is said to be rule-based, or that is, it is a system in which we determine what things are morally right, and that we then have an obligation to do what is right. It focuses on the rightness or wrongness of actions themselves, as opposed to the rightness or wrongness of the consequences of those actions. In the deontological system, one is morally good based upon following obligation, even if it might harm someone else. Our modern ideas of deontology were developed by Immanuel Kant. He has three major works in which he developed his philosophy: the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals, critique of practical reason, and metaphysics of morals. In these works, as he developed his idea of a bioethical system, he developed an idea that he called the categorical imperative. Categorical imperatives are things that one must do because of rational necessity, in that rational, reasonable people can draw a conclusion of what is right, and that one must follow those despite any natural desires or inclinations that they have to the contrary. Kant's major imperative is that human beings and rational, sentient organisms have a right to freedom and a right to pleasure. Morality is about maintaining the value of life. From this idea that life is of highest value, Kant, in his categorical imperative, formulated statements about what that means. Kant said, act only in such a way that you would want your actions to become a universal law, applicable to everyone in a similar situation. He said, act in such a way that you always treat humanity, whether it's oneself or another, as both the means of an action but also an end. Never treat a person as a means to an end. Finally, he said, act as though you were a law-making member and also the king of a hypothetical kingdom of ends, and therefore only in such a way that would harmonize with such a kingdom if those laws were binding on all others. This idea that all rational, sentient individuals are of high value and that their lives are of high value are the central defining components of Kant's philosophy. We must treat everyone as having value. In many ways, Kant's categorical imperative is really a restatement of the biblical idea of the golden rule. That is, do unto others as you would have done to you. So Kant would say we have obligations or duties to do what is right. That no matter what the consequences are of doing right, we must follow truth. Kant also believed that societies could determine and agree upon what those imperative truths are, and that therefore they need to be applied to everyone. So deontology is a duty-based ethical system. It focuses on doing the act itself, not on the outcome. One of the examples of this was on truth-telling. Kant said that telling the truth is a categorical imperative. That if people did not tell the truth, or we could not be certain who was telling the truth, that civil society would be impossible. Because as we worked with others, we would never know if we should believe them or not, and therefore we could not have a society. Kant further argued that even if truth-telling led to harm, one was still obligated to tell the truth. Kant's example was if you knew that a murderer was after someone you knew, and that murderer came to you and said, "Where is this person?" You could not tell a lie and say, "Well, they're not here," or "I don't know where they are." You would be obligated to tell the truth, even if it led to that harm of your friend being found and murdered. So as you think about this idea of a categorical imperative and duty-bound bioethics, you might want to think about a case. And that is a case in which a person in the media is urged to broadcast false information in order to save the life of a person taken hostage. What would you do? Do you really believe that one has a duty to tell the truth? So would you broadcast false information? Would you not broadcast the information? So today what we have done is we have looked at deontology, a system in which rational people reason what is right and wrong, and then are duty-bound to do what is right.